In this video, we're going to talk about chemical reactions and chemical equations. So what is the difference between the two? The chemical reaction is the process. The chemical equation represents the process. So a chemical equation, this is a process wherein you have one or more substances that react together or combine together to form new sets of products. So basically, yung reaction, isa itong proseso kung saan may iba't iba kang compounds na magsasama sila, magre-react sila, magko-combine sila para mag-form sila ng bagong substances or products na tinatawag natin. Ano naman yung chemical equation? It's an equation, no? Basically, it represents your chemical reaction. Pinapakita niya kung anong compounds yung involved doon sa ating reaction. So, I'll write a hypothetical chemical equation here. The big letters corresponds to your compounds, and the small letters, they respond to the coefficients. So, tingnan natin, class, kung ano ba yung parts ng ating chemical equation. Dito sa left-hand side, ito yung ating reactants. Ibig sabihin sila yung ating starting materials. And here, sa right-hand side, this is your products. Napakadali, di ba? So, yung ating reactant, starting material, sa kanila magsisimula ang reaction, yung products natin, yun yung final, no? Yun yung result ng ating chemical reaction. Yun yung na-form na substance, na new substances. Okay? So, let's talk about the symbols. So, as I've mentioned, the capital letters, they correspond to the chemical formulas or yung ating compounds. The small letters correspond to your coefficients. So the plus sign that you see there, it means, this plus sign right here, it means to react with or to combine with or it is added to. So in this hypothetical chemical equation, we can say that compound A reacted with compound B or compound A is added to compound B. The arrow here means to form, to produce, or to yield. So, ibig sabihin, when compound A reacted with compound B, ang na-form niya na products ay si compound C at si compound D. So, compound A reacting with compound B will form or will yield or will produce compound C and compound D. It's very easy? Yes, it's very easy. Now, let's talk about these symbols. Ayan. So here, usually nilalagay yan as a subscript, no? Nilalagay talaga siya as a subscript. Ayan. Okay, lagay muna natin. So it means, it indicates the state of matter, the state of your matter, the compound has during the chemical reaction. So what does that mean? Ibig sabihin, during this chemical reaction, compound A was at the solid phase or it is at the solid state. Compound B is at the liquid state and compound C is at the gaseous state. May isa pa, AQ. AQ means aqueous, no? It means it's dissolved in water. So this is just a hypothetical chemical equation, no? I'm just introducing the parts to you. So I hope that is clear. So may isa pa, heat, no? So heat, these kinds of symbols, usually nilalagay yan on top of the arrow, no? To indicate that in order for the chemical reaction to proceed, heat was applied. Hindi lang heat yung symbol na makikita ninyo as we progress through our lectures. Marami yan, no? May HV pa. HV means light. Ibig sabihin, when compound A and compound B reacted, in order to form compound C and D, light was applied. So, nilalagay din yung catalyst. It's either ilalagay siya on top of the arrow or below the arrow. For this part, no, as we progress through the lectures, no, as we explore organic chemistry, more in particular, no, mas ginagamit natin yung mga symbols na to sa organic chemistry. Makikita ninyo kung ano yung mga iba't ibang catalyst, no, na ina-apply sa reaction. So when you talk about a catalyst, this is actually a compound that speeds up, no, the rate of reaction. And we'll talk about that when we go to kinetics. For now, so these are the basics. Okay, so when you read chemical equations, ayan, pupunta na ako doon sa mga small letters. Ano ba itong mga small letters na to? These corresponds to the number of moles. In a chemical reaction, ito yung mga coefficient mo. Ayan, sila yung mga coefficient mo and they correspond to the number of moles. So, how do you read a chemical reaction? So, in this case, wala siyang coefficient. Ibig sabihin nun, automatically ang coefficient niya ay 1. So, here we have 1 mole of methane reacting with or is added to or is combined with 2 moles of oxygen to produce, to form, or to yield 1 mole of carbon dioxide and 2 moles of water. So that's how you read a chemical reaction. Again, the coefficient corresponds to the number of moles. Ayan. So bakit 1 mole si methane dito? Kasi walang nakasulat sa kanya. Paano siya naging 1? Automatic, pag wala pong nakasulat, 1 po ang ating coefficient. Now, we'll go to the balancing of chemical equations. Ayan. Chemical equations. So the first question is, why do you want to balance chemical equations? To conform to the law of conservation of mass. Ano yung sinasabi ng law of conservation of mass? Na yung number daw ng reactants, it is always equal to the number of products. So, ibig sabihin, kung sa reactant side, may 4 ka na carbon, dapat sa product side, may 4 ka din na carbon. Walang madadagdag, walang mawawala. Kung ilan yung umpisa, ganun din yung amount niya dapat pag nag-form na siya ng products. So, sa loob ng isang chemical reaction, walang nawawala na element, walang nadadagdag na element, no? Atoms are only rearranged, no? So, dapat kung nare-rearrange lang yung ating mga atoms, dapat kung ilan yung nasa reactants, ganun din dapat yung nasa product side. Ganun lang siya, class. So, what are the steps, no, in balancing chemical equations? Step 1, enumerate the elements. Ayan. Step 2, count the number of atoms. And step 3, balance. And how do you balance? You multiply it. You multiply it with a whole number. And step 4, check. Check if your equation is already balanced. Ayan. So the strategy here is you start with elements that occur only once in both sides of the equation. What do I mean by that? Say, for example, we have this chemical reaction. Propane reacting with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. So if you're going to look at this equation, si carbon, isang beses lang siyang naisulat sa reactant side. Sa product side, isang beses lang din siya naisulat. So, pwede tayong magsimula kay carbon. Si hydrogen, isang beses lang naisulat sa reactant side, isang beses lang din po siya naisulat sa ating product side. So, pwedeng dyan tayo magsimula. Pero si oxygen, hindi tayo magsisimula kay oxygen. Bakit? Oxygen is written once on the reactant side, but in the product side, it is written twice. So, wag mo munang galawin si oxygen. Ang gagalawin mo lagi is yung elements na once lang na isulat on both sides of the equation. So, you can either start with carbon and hydrogen. So, dyan ka pwedeng magsimula. Now, let's follow the steps I gave you. Step 1 is to enumerate the elements on both sides of the equation. So, ayan, sandali. Ayan, liitan natin yung screen para mas may screen tayo dito, no? So, step 1, enumerate the elements. So, hatiin natin sa gitna on both sides of the equation. Sa reactant side, we have your carbon, your hydrogen, and your oxygen. Sa product side, we have your carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Pagtapatin nyo yung mga elements para hindi kayo mahirapan. So, first step is very easy. You just have to enumerate the elements. Step 2, it's also easy. Count the number of atoms. The subscripts, they correspond to the number of atoms. So, carbon, ilan daw si carbon dito? 3. Si hydrogen, ilan? 8. Si oxygen, ilan? 2. Okay, sa reactant side yan. What about sa product side? Ilan yung carbon natin? Wala siyang subscript, di ba? Pag wala siyang subscript, automatic ang kanyang subscript or ang kanyang number of atoms ay 1. Ayan. So, here, walang nakasulat. So, it's 1. Hydrogen, ilan? Dalawa. Oxygen, may dalawa ka dito, may isa ka dito. So, 2 plus 1, ilan yon? 3. Ayan. So, sabi ko kanina, we won't start with oxygen kasi it was written twice, no, on the product side. Magsisimula ka dun sa elements that is written only once on both sides of the equation, which is napaliwanag ko nga kanina, it is carbon and hydrogen. Si carbon sa reactant side, isang beses lang naisulat, isang beses lang din naisulat sa product side. Sige, specify natin reactant and the product side. Ayan. Si hydrogen, isang beses lang naisulat sa ating reactant side, isang beses lang din naisulat sa ating product side. So, pwedeng sa kanya tayo mag-start mag-balance. However, si oxygen, isang beses naisulat sa reactant, pero dalawang beses naisulat yung oxygen sa product. So, hindi tayo magsisimula sa kanya. So, nagawa na natin yung step 1 and 2, na-enumerate na natin yung elements, na-count na natin yung number of atoms. Magbabalance na tayo. How do you balance? You multiply it with a whole number. Okay. So, let's start with carbon. Ayan. By the way, class, when you do balancing chemical equations, you should really practice, no? It takes a lot of practice din para maging mabilis kayo pag nagbabalance kayo. Ayan. So, here, sa reactant side, si carbon ay 3. Sa product side, si carbon ay 1 lang. Paano sila magiging equal? You multiply one side with a whole number or two sides with a whole number. Depende sa kaso, no? So, in this case, si 3, hindi ko naman pwedeng gawing 1. Pero si 1, pwede kong gawing 3. Paano ko gagawing 3 si 1? Multiply it by 3. So, if I multiply it with 3, carbon in this side will now be 3. Now, take note, class. Kung ano yung number na pinang-multiply ninyo, siya yung ilalagay ninyong coefficient. The number that you multiplied, the whole number that you use for multiplying is equivalent to the coefficient. I hope that is clear. So, ngayon kung naglagay ka dito ng 3, 3 times 1, i-distribute mo yan. 3 times 1 kay carbon, 3. Okay. But 3 times 2 with oxygen is 6, diba? May isa ka pa dito. So, ilan na lahat yung ating oxygen? 7 na. Kasi 3 times 2 plus 1, it's 7, diba? Ayan. So now, wag mo munang pansinin si oxygen. Kung naging 7 man siya sa product side, mamaya natin, we'll deal with it later, no? Next, punta muna tayo sa hydrogen kasi siya yung madaling mabalance eh. So, hydrogen, okay, sa reactant side, 8 si hydrogen. Sa product side, 2 lang siya. Yung 8, hindi ko naman pwedeng gawing 2. Pero yung 2, pwede kong gawing 8. Paano ko gagawin yon? 2 times 4. So, 2 times 4 is equal to 8. So, this number right here na pinang-multiply natin, ilalagay natin siya dito as a coefficient. So, tama, di ba? Pag dinistribute mo, 4 times 2, it's 8. Okay. 4 times 1, ilan na yung oxygen dito? 4 na. 4 na siya sa side na to. Kanina may 6 ka dito na oxygen, di ba? Kasi 3 times 2, 6. 4 times 1, ilan? 4. So, 6 plus 4, ilan na lahat yung oxygen mo? 10 na. Now, we go to the last part, we balance oxygen. Hindi tayo pwede magbawas, no? Magmumultiply lang talaga kayo pag nagbabalance kayo. So, 10 here on the product side, 2 lang sa reactant side. How do we make this oxygen a 10? Itong nasa reactant side. You multiply it by 5. If you multiply it by 5, ayan, it's equal to 10. 5 times 2 equal to 10. Okay, balance na yung ating chemical equation. Check nga natin kung balance na ba talaga. The last step is checking eh. So, carbon in this reactant side is 3. On the product side, 3 times 1, it's also equal to 3. So, this is balance. Hydrogen on the reactant side is 8. And then hydrogen on the product side is 4 times 2, it's also 8. So it's balanced. Reactant side, oxygen is 10 kasi 5 times 2, it's 10. On the product side, 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. 6 plus 4 is 10. So this is also balance. Napakadali, madali lang po. Kailangan lang po talaga mag-practice, no? Walang gumagaling sa chemistry kung hindi nagpa-practice. Okay, let's have another easy one. So we have nitrogen, hydrogen to form ammonia. So let's apply the rules na binigay ko kanina. Step 1, enumerate the elements on both sides. Here you have nitrogen and hydrogen. Nitrogen and hydrogen. Very easy. Next, count the number of atoms. Ayan. So itong mga subscript na yan that corresponds to the number of atoms. So ilan si nitrogen dito? 2. Si hydrogen din ay 2. Next, dito sa product side, nitrogen is 1, hydrogen is 3. Ayan, parang masyadong masikip yung nagawa ko, no? Let's repeat that. Ayan, let me rewrite the equation kasi parang nakasagad siya dun sa dulo, hindi na ako makapagsulat. So, let me rewrite it again. Okay, ayan, better. So, here, again, here on the reactant side, you have nitrogen and hydrogen, nitrogen and hydrogen. First step is enumerate the elements. Ayan, we have already enumerated the elements. Step 2, count the number of atoms. Tingin sa subscript. Subscript dito ay 2 at 2. So, ang nitrogen mo daw ay 2. Hydrogen mo din sa reactant side ay 2. On the product side, walang subscript si nitrogen. That means 1 lang ang kanyang subscript, ang kanyang number of atoms. Hydrogen is 3. Now, saka magsisimula mag-balance kasi step 3 is to balance. Where do you start balancing? Check the elements muna, no? Nitrogen was only written once in the reactant side. Isang beses lang din siya naisulat sa product side. Si hydrogen ay isang beses lang naisulat sa reactant side. Isang beses lang din siyang naisulat sa product side. So, kahit sino, pwede kang magsimula kahit sino, no? Okay, so let's start with nitrogen. Hindi ko pwedeng bawasan tong 2 para maging 1. Pero itong 1, pwede nating gawing 2. How do you do that? You multiply this by 2. So, 1 times 2 is equal to 2. Okay. So, this number na pinang-multiply ninyo, it will become a coefficient. Madidistribute yan. 2 times 1, 2 for nitrogen. 2 times 3 for hydrogen is 6. So, 6 na dito. Now, this 2 at the reactant side, this 6 at the product side, hindi ko naman pwedeng bawasan yan para maging 2. But I can multiply 2 here to make it a 6. How do I do that? I multiply it by 3. So, 2 times 3 is equal to 6. Ayan. 2 times 3 is equal to 6. The number na pinang-multiply ninyo, it becomes a coefficient. Saan ko siya ilalagay? Sa hydrogen. Kasi sa hydrogen tayo nag-multiply. So, 3 times 2, tama. 6 na. Last step, check the equations. Check the whole equation if it's already balanced. So, nitrogen at the reactant side is 2. On the product side, 2 times 1, it's also 2. So, this is already balanced. Next, hydrogen at the reactant side is 3 times 2, it's 6. And hydrogen here at the product side is 2 times 3 is 6. It's already balanced. So this is your balanced chemical equation. So I really suggest that you practiced on balancing chemical equations. Marami kayong makikita sa internet na equations na pwedeng balansehin na may answer key na. I can never overemphasize the importance of practicing in solving in balancing equations in chemistry kasi doon lang talaga kayo magiging magaling kapag nagpa-practice kayo. So that's it. I'll see you on our next lecture.